this part up. How do I stretch this sample, bro?
Hi there, my name is Gregor Bayerle. In this example here, I have that's to change this and set the tempo mode to time stretch. In order to change this, all I have to do is click on the little eye for track inspector here and set the tempo mode to time stretch. In order to change this, all I have to do is click on the little eye for track inspector here and set the tempo mode to time stretch. We set it Control and Alt bar of our arrangement, and then we see the correct BPM in our second bar of our arrangement, and then we see the correct Alt on a Windows PC, Mac, or Command navigate to the end of our event and correct BPM after we set it to time stretch. Sometimes it can happen though that the loop will still not play at the correct BPM after we set it to time stretch. What we have to do then is navigate to the end of our event, and while holding down Command and Option on a Mac or Control and Alt on a Windows PC, simply drag the beginning of the second bar in our loop to the second bar of our arrangement, and then we see the correct BPM, in our case 128, displayed on the right.
You found?
Damn, I forgot what he said.
Hi there, my name is Gregor Bayerle and I'm software specialist on a Mac or Control and Alt on a Windows PC.
Command options. That's not. That's not.
Hey, what's up? I'm Nick Rollo. I am a one using stock to make your life easier, just locks everything together. Not all samples start on the exact starting point, if that makes sense. It's not all on beat one. Sometimes there'll be a bit of empty space, so I would imagine this is empty space. I would just cut it and then drag it so it starts on the actual beat. And just listen through to make sure you haven't messed it up and it doesn't warp out of time. Sometimes samples don't have a BPM actually listed, so what I've got is I've got a tap tempo assigned to one of my keys, so I'll just click it. My camera has turned off, so that's all right. We got the first part out. We'll just do the rest of it without any video. But yeah, so I've got a tap tempo, so I'll just click it out in time to find out what the tempo is. But ideally, you'll have it here, and most good samples will tell you what the BPM is. Kind of crazy if they don't. Click this I button up here, gives you this window, and we'll be looking at the time stretch algorithms here. There's a few of them for various things. Naturally, for drums, you use this. If you're doing samples, use this. If you're doing guitars, like single line, like lead line melodies, probably use this one. Either probably works in that case. I want to change the tempo, let's say 120. This is a 95 tempo audio file, so it's going to speed it up. If I go to 150, it'll get even faster. You can just change that value to 2, we'll speed it up twice as fast. You can have as much fun as you like. I'd probably keep it to round numbers like 0.25, 0.5, 0.75, 1, 2, 4, 8. Those kind of things makes your life easier. The other way to do this exact same function is if you go to the edge and you hold the Alt key, you see a little clock appears. Now you can just drag it. And that made it twice as fast. This is 1.33. If you see that little white bar to the made it twice as fast. Clock appears. Now you can just drag it. And that, you see a little clock appears. You go to the edge and you hold the Alt key.
Oh, like what the heck? Oh, I don't have all on here.
You see a little function is if you go to the edge and you hold the Alt key, you see a little clock appears.
That's it. That's how you drag it, okay? show up to class today, bro. Pretty early too. I already got demons in my head, bro. It's like, why? Why do I wake up like this?
Hi there, my name is bar of our arrangement, and then we see the correct BPM, in our case 120.
I'm going to show you how to quickly chop a sample and then select sample and then select. You have two options here. You can select sample one or new impact, but today select your choke. Yeah. Again, really appreciate it. Peace.
This is how to chop up samples like a pro in FL Studio 20. That are on time. I usually pull up the attack a bit to make it sound less choppy and push it up or down to give it a different feel. Drop your pattern into the playlist and play around with different icon and select the word. That you can open up Fruity Slicer. Drag and drop it. After that, you can open up Fruity Slicer. Drag and drop your sample into the plugin. Click on this knife icon and select the word beat. This cuts up the sample into equal parts that are on time. I usually pull up the
If you make hip-hop beats in Studio One, then today I want to show you the best way to sample so that you can create your own melodic phrases and speed up your workflow. Before we start, if you're a Studio One user, don't forget to download my free productivity toolbar. Now, to chop it up using Impact, you basically have two options. Chop it up first on the timeline and then send it to Impact, or send it to Impact and then chop it up there. There are pros and cons to both methods, so let's take a look. Let's actually start with my favorite method, which is to chop it up on the timeline first. Now, while you can use the split tool to chop this up manually, or even use something like the audio bend tool to detect transients and then chop from there, the easiest way that I found is to split your sample at the grid. So to do this, you want to first select your grid value, and I have found that either 1/4 or one way you create some crossfades in between your chop. Next, while having all of your sample chops highlighted, press the X key on your keyboard, and that way you create some crossfades in between your chops so you don't get any pops and clicks. Lastly, with your chops once again highlighted, right-click again, and this time go down to Audio and select Send to New Impact. Now, if this seems like a lot, then don't worry, because I've combined all of these actions into one easy-to-use macro that I've added to my free productivity toolbar. I mentioned this toolbar at the beginning of the video, and if you use Studio One, then I highly recommend that you download it because it is a workflow power tool. So here is the toolbar, and I've actually updated it over the past few weeks to make it a bit more compact to fit smaller screens, but the newest addition is this chop sample macro that I added to the audio section. This button is actually a drop-down menu where you can select if you want to chop your sample based on 1/4 at them all. From there, highlight all of your pads and then change.
I know niggas were chopping samples back then.
Sorry about that. Typical modulation wheel. So by using the modulation.
this it? Do I have a pad, nigga? Cause we chopping it for real, then. Alright, so sliced by like 3 different parts. I got class in the next couple minutes. Damn, Nick. Damn, Nick. Damn, Nick. It's hypothetically right. Hypothetically, though. Tap the tempo by tapping the word tempo 4 times. Presonus. Impact. Dude, he has both of them joints. Wait. Vendor. Presonus.
All right, we're in the coffee shop here. Enjoy the ambiance. Here's a quick Studio One tip. Say you have a song, and you want to add an effect to just one piece of the track, but not the entire track. Select that.
No.
I'm not gonna lie, I'll make music in a closet if I have to. So I use samples because
Studio One has two main VSTs for programming drums, Sample One and Impact. Both are great, but they each have their own strengths and weaknesses, so today I want to share the pros and cons of each so that you can make a better decision. Before we start, if you're a Studio One user, don't forget to download my free productivity toolbar. This is a macro toolbar that sits at the top of your timeline and combines a bunch of Studio One production functions into time-saving one-click buttons. The productivity toolbar is completely free, so if you want to start speeding up your Studio One workflow today, then make sure to click the first link down below to get access. Also, this video will be a part of a much bigger Studio One production course that I am currently putting together, so if you want to be notified of when that drops, then definitely get subscribed and stay tuned. Okay, so here in front of me, I have both Impact XT on my left and then Sample One XT on my right. If you're brand new to Studio One, then Impact is essentially the native drum machine, while Sample One is the native sampler. Now, at first glance, you might look at this and think that the answer to this is quite simple and choose Impact because, after all, it is a native drum machine. But as you'll see, Impact does come with a few limitations.
You know, I wonder if it's in my other one. Like, if it's a strong, it's a possibility. It's on this. gotta leave to go to class, math soon, but I think. Side note, bro. There's a girl named Tania that I know, and like we used to hang out. We used to kind of like talk to each other a lot during you know what I'm saying, the summer, and we got real close. And I talked to her a little bit less as the school year went on, but her birthday is on Halloween, so I went out my way to chat with her. And she was telling me, she's like, look, like I have a couple friends who what she said? She said something like, oh yeah, we're just discussing like who's a nigga and like who's like a black man. Like I feel like you're a black man, you're not a nigga. I was like, okay. Basically, she was hyping me up all of a sudden, just talking about how like what I established and what I try to do, and I was just like, wow, that's very beneficial of you. And so that's what I told her, right? Bro, I gotta get ready right now. Wow. Man, this really sucks. So yeah. So that's what I'm about to do. Nigga, why am I talking about this? Yeah, so my point was how it's funny because I have not talked to her since, and then we went to I told her I'll be back during Christmas. You know what I'm saying? And then Halloween happened. And I literally went and called her during Thanksgiving, and we got sat in the car with her. I wanted to see her, and we chatted. And fuck that, I was like, oh yeah, man, like how's it going? I was like, I'm real busy. I'm not gonna have a lot of time to talk to you, but like I just want to talk. And I called her. She was able to answer. It's only a month later, and we sat there. We talked in the parking lot for maybe 20, 30 minutes, and she went on to do her own business. And that was it. And she left. And then the fuck happened next? Guess what happened next? Then I see her for Christmas, and I told her, I was like, I'll be back during next week for Christmas. She didn't hit me back, so I was like, that's fine, because I got my other stuff I'm doing. I then pull up on her maybe like 2 weeks later. I'm like, oh hey, how you been? You know what I'm saying? And she's like, oh my gosh, hi. And then she was like, and it was just my way of like chatting with her, saying, hey, I don't know if somebody was in her ear. I don't know if I was just wasting time. But after that, she kind of didn't respond back to me. I tried calling her a couple times while I was there. I really gotta leave, bro. Oh my gosh. Yes, ma'am. I figured we're graduating. That's so crazy. What's the date? Still in school. Push me back. Yeah, I was supposed to go see Tania, so it's looking like this is how I text her. I said, I saw her, and so happy birthday, blah 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? She texted me because I left her a voicemail, I guess, her message. Yo, what's good, man? Yo, you hostage over there? And she was like, actually, I'm off today. Worked double yesterday. I'm dog sitting, so I'm tired. LOL. I said, I'm glad you're sitting down somewhere. LOL. I want to trust you with my dogs. I heard you talk to your cats. Then I call her later. On my fault. So basically, like, I went out my way to be like, hey, I'm in town. Let's find a day that we're off. I try to text her. She lets me know a day that we're finally off. Like, okay. Ends up not working because she's with her family and prioritizes her family. Perfect. That's something I would do. I'm thinking, like, hey, you know I'm not going to be here forever. To her Happy New Year, that kind of stuff. Called her a little bit. Then I'm just calling her regularly during the school year. And I think she's probably, like, in a headspace where she just... You know how girls be, bro. Like, I literally been told this. They just like me a little too much, so they gotta cut me off. I think that's just so sad. Yeah, what do you mean? You gotta like me a little bit. You like me so much and I gotta cut me off. Like, you just can't see me as a friend. I never liked that. Anyway, I'm about to wash something and then put on whatever clothes I'm gonna put on for this thing. They're dressing like white niggas, bro. How do white boys dress here? Life's crazy. Right, bro. I'm about to chop this sample when we get into class. No cap. So I still didn't open up my laptop. Well, that's the feats, the purpose of this. Wanted to talk to you in your last couple moments in the area, but I understand got a lot to do. Hey, you already know I know all too well. Whenever I had to leave out of Disney officially for school, I was in no mood. You know, I was basically as soon as my mother touched down, I was out of here. You know what I'm saying? I was done. So I understand, my nigga. I really do. I think what you gotta do, if you don't mind, you know what I'm saying, send me a little Snapchat of like what you're doing, so I feel like I'm still there, low key. That's cool. Yeah, good job. she wasn't even on Instagram. She wasn't on anything. The first reply I got out of her was months later. It's getting a great day outside. So, like, would it be crazy if I tried to pull up? I'm proud you stuck it. Stuck it through.